Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is 22nd of August and we'll have a quick look at Nvidia because a couple of days ago it broke above 118. We talked about this for such a long time. 118 is really like a pivot point here. So after this strong bounce, after it was hammered down here in late July, early August, it's bounced really strongly back. RSI above 60 threshold, indicating likely higher levels. However, there is some strong resistance ahead. It did close above the cloud, but let's see. I'm not so sure it will take out and perform a new all-time highs. Next week we have earnings. That's going to be really interesting. But the reason why I actually bring up Nvidia today is if we compare to the semiconductor index, the SOXX index, or here the ETF, you can see that this sell-off here from the peak in July to the it ended here in early August. It only bounced a little bit more than 0.5% and is still trading below resistance at 235.60. So that is struggling a little bit on, or basically the rest of them are struggling. Most of them, at least, are struggling a little bit, dragging the or keeping the SOXX index a little bit underwater, so to speak. It is below the cloud, it is below the 55 moving average, and the RSI is still below 60 threshold, meaning it is still in a negative sentiment. So we need first and foremost a close above the resistance here and then a push higher, but it can be a bit of a struggle. So that would be something to follow the coming days and weeks. S&P 500 slowly ticking higher, very close to its all-time highs. Could push higher in coming days and weeks. RSI supporting higher levels on the sentiment. Will it be a massive move higher? I'm not quite sure. We have still divergence on the RSI, weekly RSI, so that is a little bit a drag on it. But again, you should trust the trend. The trend is bullish, and the sentiment is also positive. Also, the Nasdaq lacking S&P 500 a little bit, but we have the RSI above 60 threshold, so positive sentiment. We are above the 55 moving average. Key strong resistance, that's the gap area up here, 20,041, 20,211. That would be really key to break that and close above that level to push higher. In Europe, we have EUROSTOXX 50. That is very close to resistance at 49.07. And the RSI is knocking on the 60 threshold. If it can close above, then I also think we'll see a close above 49.07 and potential up to higher levels. On the other hand, it could be rejected, and we have the 55 moving average actually dragging it down a bit. You can see it's declining, and the 100 moving also declining. So it can be a bit of a struggle around these levels here, 49.07. DAX 18,558 resistance could be tested. We are just above the 60 threshold on the RSI. Will we close above or below? Not so sure. We'll see at the end of the day, but it still needs to close above 18,558 to really get up further upside momentum to all-time highs. Amsterdam index has been struggling to really get traction from around this gap consolidation area here. I think we can remove this one. So we are trading now 911 above it again. But it is struggling a little bit. You can also see RSI well below 60 threshold, still above 928. Well, then expect new all-time highs, but it can be a struggle to get up there. And the 55 moving average slightly declining, also at putting a damper on the uptrend, and that could have something to do with ASML also struggling. Excuse me, also struggling. We have the CAC index pushing towards 7,585 resistance, trading around the 55 moving areas. Also here, keep an eye on the RSI. If it does close above 60 level, then we are looking at 7,700, 7,725. That would be next resistance area. If it slides back lower and it takes out again 74.64, well, then we could see a sell-off returning. We have the Swiss market, and I talked about here the past few days that it could very well make a new all-time high, and it's getting very close to it. And the RSI is very close to breaking above 60 threshold. So I think if we do get the RSI back above 60 threshold, I expect a push to 12,500, possibly higher on the Swiss market. But do expect a little bit of correction from time to time. On euro dollar, sorry, that was the dollar Kobe, dollar Danish kroner. Here we have euro dollar that spiked above 111.50, actually all the way up to 111.74. And you can see where we are going with this. We did look at this a bit back when I talked about this triangle-like pattern here on the weekly. Let's just get a little bit bigger. There we are. Sorry about this. You can see currently around the 111.42, but it actually broke above. Key will it actually also close above? I do expect we will see a little bit of a setback now here. We will see a little bit of correction, but we are in a bullish trend on euro dollar, and I think we'll see it pushing higher towards 112.75 area here in the coming weeks. But do expect a little bit of a correction. It is short term a little bit stretched, and if we just adjust that a little bit, we could see a correction down to again 111, 110, 60 level maybe. I don't expect the correction to be that large. Euro sterling still in a correction phase, testing the 85 level, could dip down to 84.75 with the 61.8 retracement and the 55 moving average. We still have the RSI in a positive sentiment. It hasn't broken below 40. If we see RSI breaking above its falling trend line here, then I think we will see a euro sterling turning around. But the cable is really in a strong upwards move after they formed this doji evening like pattern here as bottom and reversal. 131.35 resistance, and if we also zoom out to the weekly chart, we can see what's actually going on here. It is testing the upper rising trend line. It's more merely a guideline, not so much a resistance as such, but resistance is really up here around 131.46, which is the peak here back from last year. It is forming this rising wedge-like pattern, so let's see what happens here. If it does break above this level here and closes above, well, then the wedge pattern has been demolished, and then we can forget about that. But for now, I think we are close to a peak around these level 131.35, 45-ish level, and then we'll probably see a correction. Dollar yen touched just the 61.8 retracement and 144.62 this overnight or late session last night. Could bounce from here. If it does break above this falling trend line, well, then I think we could see a bounce higher. However, RSI is still in negative sentiment, and it is showing a divergent. No, it's not showing divergence. Sorry about that. There is still risk down to the 786 retracement, 143.30 level. But let's see if we can actually get there. If we do get we saw also on the on cable a bottom reversal pattern here with this massive dojo here, then it could turn around. Euro yen still in the range between 160.55 and 164. That should be observed. I need a breakout from either of these levels for direction. More or less the same on Aussie dollar. Aussie yen. 96.75 to the downside and 99.20 on the upside. We need a breakout from that. And here also on sterling yen, the 187.85 and the 192 to the upside. That needs to be broken. We're still a negative sentiment, no divergence, so it indicates we could see lower lows, but I'm not quite so sure at the moment. We need some confirmation for a breakout there. And then Aussie dollar, still room up to the 68 level, the previous peak here from July. Positive sentiment, no divergence, likely to push to that level also after breaking the 786 retracement. Dollar Canada is really taking out the 135.90 support and the 200 moving average, and seems to be pushing lower. We don't have much support until around, let's just see if we can find some interesting support levels. There could be some where it turned around around these levels. It's not the strongest one, 135.15, 135, and I think we could reach that in about a week or so. We have had so many down days. We should see a little bit of correction where it's trying to get back above this now resistance level. But we are in a downtrend for sure, no question about that. Euro-Swiss, very close to the 38.2 retracement. I think it will dip lower to around 93.55, which is a 61.8 retracement. Will we get lower? Possibly all the way down to here. But I think we'll get lower here in the coming days and weeks. Dollar Swiss. I'll try again. There we are. Dipping below now, trend below 786 retracement at 85, could test the previous lows here fairly shortly. Let's see how the day ends. If we end below here, well, then expect lower levels on dollar Swiss. And let's just have a quick look at the weekly chart, what it looks like. Yeah, it's really a massive turnaround after this upwards move there earlier this year. Now we are down back here again. Dollar index also pushing lower. I don't have much support until 100, but 32. I don't think we'll get all the way down there at the moment. Also, given that we were probably likely facing euro dollar correction, and with the other FX pairs included in this dollar index. So we are a little bit stressed at the moment. I think we will see a little bit of correction, possibly testing 101.62 from the other side. Gold, it seems to be struggling a little bit to follow through with the bullish move we saw here earlier this week. Or actually it was late last week. It seems to spike higher there. Maybe we should have a correction a little bit lower again, and before the next move up. But see, we have a doji here. We have a spike up there. That doesn't tell us a good story at the moment. So maybe we'll have a little bit of a correction. If it takes out the peak there, 25.32, well, then expect to push higher to 25.65 level. On the silver, that actually yesterday closed above the 29.45 resistance. It is not the strongest resistance, but still, well, you can see why that RSI is still negative sentiment. It really needs to close above 60 threshold, otherwise we'll see a setback below 29 again before the next possible push higher. Copper. Oh, I didn't hit it, sorry. Copper. It's really knocking on the 422.35. There's a little bit. We have a little bit of different discrepancy between Bloomberg and our terminal, because there's a future rollover. The majority of the volume is still in the September future, which is reflected in this continuous one. But Bloomberg has switched over to the December one. So but the picture is basically still the same. It is a spike here in early August. 1st of August, that is key to break above and close above, and RSI should then also follow with a close above 60 for further upside potential to 440 at least. On the WTI, yeah, I sent out an analysis yesterday, and we can now see that it is actually taking out the lows here from earlier this month. So it seems like we are really testing the testing the lower rising trend line and this triangle-like pattern here. So if it can follow through, well, then there's potential down to around the 65, 64 level, possibly down to around 62 on WTI. Brent crude, almost the same picture. And if you read my analysis yesterday, where I looked at this picture here also on Brent, we could even see a push down there to these levels here at 70 or 64, 65, or maybe a bounce up to a little bit higher and then further down, and or we could move up there. I think we will see either the sell-off down here now, or possibly a little bit of bounce, and then I don't think we'll see oil to push up there. But these are the three scenarios, obviously, that could be the outcome. And if we're looking at the daily chart, it is currently very close to testing the lows here on Brent from earlier this month. So we're really close to breaking out as this triangle-like pattern. On the US 10-year Treasury yields, very interesting development overnight. Last night we saw it dipping below the 375 level, but it above. It's a support now. It's also back above, so that is a key level to watch out. We are in a bearish trend, and we could dip lower, but let's see. Maybe it's waiting for Jackson Hole to come out with some statement. All right, that's all for today. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.